Donald Trump says today's Supreme Court ruling is a, quote, big win for the United States. And we expect to hear from the former president soon. We will bring you those remarks from his Mar-a-Lago home when they happen. In a unanimous ruling, the court said Trump can remain on the ballot for the Republican presidential primary in Colorado. The court struck down an attempt to keep him from running for allegedly taking part in an insurrection. CNN legal analyst Norman Eisen joins us now. Norman, in her opinion, Justice Amy Coney Barrett underscored the unanimity of the decision in, and I quote her here, this politically charged issue in the volatile season of a presidential election case. How significant will it be to the American people that this was a unanimous decision?
It will be significant that the decision was unanimous in two regards. First, because it establishes that the road to disqualification of insurrectionist candidates for president or other federal offices runs through the United States Congress. That's something that I and others had pointed to in advance as one of the most likely off-ramps here. So in that regard, very important. But there's a second extremely important unanimous aspect of this opinion that's not being noticed, Becky. They did not explicitly deny the lower court findings that Donald Trump was an insurrectionist. Multiple fact finders have reached that conclusion. Indeed, if you look at the evidence, the January 6th committee, Colorado, Maine, Illinois have all found that, and that was not expressly overturned. And indeed, the three Democratic justices pointed to it in their concurrence. So in a sense, they have left the question open for the criminal authorities and for the American people what to do about Donald Trump's allegedly criminal conduct.
Let me just get our viewers very briefly at what the Colorado Secretary of State said, issuing a statement saying that she is disappointed. She went on to say, Colorado should be able to bar oath-breaking insurrectionists from our ballot. Your point is well taken, sir. It's good to have you. And an important day. Step back, ultimately, at this point, for our international viewers who may not be as, well imbued in the minutiae of what is going on at present, ultimately, on the issue of eligibility, Donald Trump has now been cleared to run for president, if indeed that is what the Republican voters want from him, correct?
That's correct. And it's clear that he's going to be successful by all odds. He's accumulated already a daunting delegate lead. Super Tuesday will, according to all the polls, deliver more delegates. One of the curious aspects of this decision is that they waited until the day before Super Tuesday to drop it. It puts the wind in Donald Trump's sails. He's already said it's a win. We'll hear a lot more from him. Why do that in the 24 hours before Super Tuesday, in the media cycle around Super Tuesday? I would not have done that. Feels too political.
You could argue that there was a responsibility by the court to do that. Otherwise, those who may have voted for him Tuesday would be disenfranchised if indeed the ruling had not come in his favor, surely. Isn't there an argument there?
That is an argument for having released this decision last week or the week before. The timing of the Supreme Court is now almost as important here in the United States as the substance of the decisions. And of course, the place where this will really count, if they, Becky, if they really believe that, they'll move fast on the immunity case because Americans also want to know, did Donald Trump commit alleged crimes? And can we get that case to trial? Just as can the Supreme Court can move quickly here, will they move quickly there? Another very important question. But I would have done this last week.
Let's continue the conversation and welcome in our panel. Molly Ball, a senior political correspondent at the Wall Street Journal, CNN political analyst Seung-Min Kim. She's also a White House reporter for the Associated Press, and former federal prosecutor Michael Zeldin. Welcome to you one. Welcome to you all. Michael, let me start with you. Was this the right opinion? I mean, was this a surprise? I mean, what's your takeaway here?
Well, it wasn't a surprise after we heard oral argument. And I also think it was a right decision from a historical standpoint, which was this Section 3 of the 14th Amendment was specifically designed to prevent insurrectionists, Confederate officers who had fled the Union to fight against it in the Civil War, from regaining their offices. And so the notion that these insurrectionist states can then put these legislators back in the federal Congress made no sense. And so I think that historical analysis is correct. One, sort of nitpicky issue on this is, should they have just stopped at that point and said, Colorado, you cannot do this, end of case? Or as they did say, which was Section 5 of the 14th Amendment is the only mechanism by which Section 3 can be enforced. And now we need federal legislation under Section 5 to do that. I'm not sure they needed to go there, but it's really less important. It's more sort of in the weeds legally. And right now, what we have is a 9-0 decision that says Trump can appear on the ballot and let the voters decide. I just want to add one thing, Rahel, is this, which is this case is important in and of itself, but it becomes more important when read in tandem with the immunity case. If in the immunity case, the decision is that Trump is not immune, then you get this 1-2 of, yes, he can appear on the ballot, but he has to be held accountable in a court of law first. If they say he is immune from prosecution and he can appear on the ballot, that makes it a much more political looking outcome. And I'll turn it over to Molly and to tell me if I'm wrong or right on that politics.
Yeah, and last I remember, oral arguments for the presidential immunity case are set for April, so we'll learn more about that in the weeks and months to come. Molly, let me ask, I mean, how much of a political win is this for the former president? Because this does not only apply to Colorado. It's pretty clear in the ruling that this applies to any state that would try to use this amendment in this way.
Well, I think, as Michael said, this is broadly what we were expecting from the court after the way that the skepticism that the justices expressed during arguments. And also as a political matter, there was a feeling that the court did not want to be put in this decision, that at a time when so many have so many concerns about the strength of our democracy, that it would appear anti-democratic to take the leading candidate for the Republican presidential nomination and have a court say that he could not appear on the ballot. So from the beginning, I think most observers expected that the court was going to try to find some way to take itself out of this whole matter and to not be put in the position of making that decision just because of the potential consequences and for how it would look to have the court intervening in such a weighty matter. I think also based on what we've seen from Trump in the past, the way he's reacted to things like the Mueller report, we can expect him to mischaracterize this decision and claim that it exonerates him in some way. Of course, it does not. The justices rather pointedly did not weigh in on the conduct in question. But what we have seen in the past is that Trump tends to take any kind of decision like this and claim that it vindicates him. And I'm sure that he'll do that with this as well.
Well, and Seung-Min, speak to me about, I mean, there is a group, certainly, of Americans who will hear this ruling and think, here you go again. I mean, you have the Supreme Court, which certainly a group of Americans believe has become more partisan over the years. So talk to me about sort of the politics of that there is certainly a group that will hear this ruling and think, you know, I mean, here's the Supreme Court again ruling in a way that seems to lean conservative.
Right, but then it's also important to remember that this was a unanimous decision, and that this small issue that the court ruled on is that it is not up to states to decide whether this 14th Amendment applies to whether you can kick someone off a ballot. That really is up to Congress, and that, again, was a unanimous decision. And I think it's important to remember, too, that while Molly talked about how obviously, and clearly this is a win for Trump, he can stay on all of the ballots across the country. This is something, if you talk to Democrats, if you talk to Biden campaign officials, Biden allies, and many Democrats, if not most Democrats, they actually did not want the outcome of Trump getting kicked off the ballot. They feel like they want to win on the merits. They want to win on the contrast of what Biden would do in a second term and what Trump would do in a second term. You try to ask Biden officials about this for the last couple of months. They did not want to talk about it. President Biden did weigh in on it once. He said, I believe he engaged in an insurrection, but he said this is up to the courts, and he really didn't engage on it further. So you do see that, if you a broad base of the Democratic Party as opposing of Trump as they are, this is probably the outcome that they wanted for all the reasons that Molly said. That this is a democracy issue and it's hard to kick the leading Republican contender off the ballot in key states.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
So, come on, what is it now, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the dough. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah, I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I'll assume that we're going on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
This was just a diversion. Security, please bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy, sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark. General,